Right now at noon, a victim is speaking out after a local doctor pleads guilty to harassment. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi has been following this case closely. He joins us from the Washington County Courthouse with more.
Dr. Adam Maass is sentenced to a year of supervised probation and must surrender his Arkansas medical license after he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of harassment. This change comes after prosecutors previously charged Maass with 2 counts of second-degree sexual assault. Video shown here is Maass leaving the courthouse with his attorney after pleading guilty. Maass admitted in court to touching former patients inappropriately with the purpose to harass or alarm. Prosecutors say these incidents occurred in October and November of 2020. Before Judge Joanna Taylor accepted the plea and the sentence, victim impact statements were summarized to the court, in which former patients wrote that they were touched by Maass inappropriately and without consent. In a statement given to 5 News, a Washington County victim says, quote, "We are deeply concerned over the persistent silencing of women's voices, where their numerous experiences are dismissed in favor of protecting the reputation of a single individual." It goes on to say that, quote, "We are hopeful for a day when the credibility and validity of a woman's testimony is acknowledged and prioritized with the seriousness it deserves, irrespective of the perceived character of the accused," end quote. We have made previous attempts to hear from Maass and his attorney, but we have not heard back. After accepting the plea and the sentence, Judge Taylor looked at Maass and said that he had overstepped and acted in a way that was immoral. In Fayetteville, covering News Where You Live, Jacob Luthi, 5 News.
Thanks, Jacob. And crews are working to restore power after thousands are reported without power earlier today. Right now, 20 people in Benton County are still without power. That number was around 14,000 just over an hour ago. 17 outages in Washington County are reported and 48 in Crawford County. In total, over 11,000 people in Arkansas, though, are without power.
All right, here's a look outside, and it looks beautiful outside, right? Blue skies, a few clouds here and there. But, of course, the headline of today has been those strong winds. You mentioned those power outages that we have. It's hard to tell whether it was wind-related or not, but I'll tell you what. Pretty much driving in this morning, if you've just stepped outside or even if you've been inside all day, you've probably heard the wind howling outside. That has been the headline all day today of just how strong those winds have been, causing it to be much cooler for today, but also, again, driving conditions, just stepping outside, that has been affected as well. It's hard to tell whether those power outages were directly connected to the wind, but it's not a bad guess. Temperatures feel like we're into the low to mid 30s still across northwest Arkansas, across the river valley, upper 30s, low 40s out there this morning. Again, as we head into the afternoon, we'll slowly start to warm up just a bit, but our afternoon highs are going to be directly affected by these strong winds that we have out of the northwest. This is a look at the sustained winds that we have out there right now. 23 in Fayetteville, 26 in Siloam Springs, 23 in Bentonville, 22 in Fort Smith, 23 there in Alma. No matter where you are going into this afternoon, those winds are very strong outside, so use some caution as you hit the roadways. We take a look at those wind gusts, and that wind advisory was allowed to expire at noon. So as we go on throughout the rest of this afternoon, what does it look like? Well, I still think we have wind gusts anywhere from 30 up to 40 miles per hour. That's still going to be very annoying outside, but as we get into the late evening hours, those winds really start to die down, and by the time we get to tomorrow, we're going to enter into a bit of a lull during the morning hours before some strong winds come up from the south once again, and then over the next several days, we're going to take some big strides in our afternoon highs. We'll take a look at it coming up.
Thanks, Stephen. And new at noon, a 95-year-old Arkansas woman who went missing is now found dead. Belva Day went missing in Mountain Home on February 6th. According to Mountain Home Police Chief Eddie Griffin, her body and her vehicle were located Tuesday afternoon in a remote area of Jacksonville Air Force Base. That's in the Little Rock area. The vehicle was found by a maintenance crew in a ravine. And President Trump outlined his vision for his second term, focusing on immigration, national security, and the economy. His speech before Congress was praised by Republicans, but Democrats criticized it, with one member being removed. Natalie Brandt has more.
President Donald Trump got a rousing reception from Republicans.
America is back.
From the Democrats, there was dissent. Texas Congressman Al Green was escorted away just minutes into the president's speech.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum.
During his speech, the president asked Congress for more funding of border security.
Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay.
He doubled down on cuts to the federal government.
I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
Following Friday's clash, President Trump played up a new letter from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer.
The president also announced that one of the suspected planners behind the 2021 bombing attack that killed 13 U.S. service members outside Kabul airport in Afghanistan has been arrested. The economy was the main topic of the night. President Trump defended putting new tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, and he pledged to put reciprocal tariffs on other countries next month.
Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin delivered the Democratic response.
America wants change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way.
A CBS News poll showed that a heavily Republican audience approved of the president's speech. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Arkansas's governor has announced an effort to eliminate the state's grocery tax. It's a process that's been underway since she outlined her vision in her State of the State address. The current tax on groceries in the state is 1/8 of a cent. Governor Sanders says by removing the tax, Arkansans can expect a return of $10.9 million annually. Economic experts suggest that this could translate to a savings of $200 to $300 per year for the average family.
For too many families, the grocery bill went up while their paychecks stayed the same. And for those families at the bottom of the income ladder, that means missed meals and empty dinner tables. My administration has worked to help those families make ends meet.
The Good Neighbors Act not only provides tax relief, but also supports food banks and donors. The governor says this will remove obstacles, making it easier for food banks to accept donations from restaurants and other organizations. Well, new developments on the Franklin County Prison. Lawmakers want more money for the project. Senator Jonathan Dismang filed a new appropriation bill asking the state for $750 million. This news comes after a $330 million spending bill failed in a Senate Joint Committee last week. Now Senator Dismang is pushing for more than $300 million beyond the original plan. Opponents like Natalie Cadena with the nonprofit Gravel and Grit says the true cost could be even higher.
Cost of this prison exceeds the surplus, and they have never said, not one time, where they're going to get the initial money, not to include where they're going to get the additional money. The only money that we know that was, legitimately appropriated and available was the $75 million that Governor Hutchinson had allotted.
Should the bill pass in the House and the Senate, the funds will go into effect on July 1st. In continuing coverage on discussions about renters' rights in Fayetteville, the topic took center stage at the Fayetteville City Council meeting, where the council considered two ordinances. They voted 7-1 to repeal an ordinance that would cap background checks and application fees at $40 per property and ensure a refund be issued if a background check didn't happen. This comes after City Attorney Kit Williams raised concerns that the ordinance might violate state law, which was further confirmed after getting the opinion of Attorney General Tim Griffin.
If it wasn't repealed then it would be likely that it would be illegally go into effect. And what would probably happen then is any attorney that's wanting to make a little money will sue us in this pretty easy case.
The other renter item on the agenda was the Truth in Leasing Ordinance proposed by Sarah Moore. This requires that all fees and costs must be disclosed clearly and in a manner that's easily visible to potential tenants. The council decided to table that item. In Fort Smith, city directors have said no to a new housing development on the city's south side. Developers had asked the city to annex land out by Riley Farms off of Highway 71 in order to build single-family homes and duplexes. Those who live in that area spoke against those plans.
Small single-family homes and high-density duplex developments do not reflect a cohesive existence with the 412 residential homes, businesses, and neighboring church comprising the Riley Farm area.
I do not believe we're necessarily in a strong position to turn down a developer and numerous dwellings that wish to be water and sewer customers and annexed into our city and helping with the challenges that we have.
Directors did approve pay raises for city employees. The board adopted 3.5% increase for non-uniformed employees. Fire department employees will see a larger bump, getting a 5% raise. The city of Rogers is taking legal action against Mark Industries over the cost to fight a fire at their recycling plant last year. The fire happened in October, created a thick black plume of smoke that could be seen as far as Fayetteville. The city says damages to firefighting gear totaled $92,000. They say conditions inside the building led to more hazardous conditions. In a letter the city sent earlier this year, Mark claimed that both Rogers and the RFD were aware of Mark's operations and the materials inside the building before the fire. And as the White House continues efforts to downside the federal government, the NOAA facility, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in Norman, Oklahoma, is among 15 federal office buildings in Oklahoma earmarked to close down this year. The facility provides information on forecasts and severe weather in the state. Oklahoma's Department of Emergency Management says it's been monitoring the situation. The National Weather Service and NOAA have not said exactly how many employees at the Norman office were terminated.
We haven't talked to them directly about their staffing levels, but the services that they've traditionally provided, they're still providing at this time.
But now another nearby office, the Radar Operations Center, also in Norman, is set to have its lease pulled by the Department of Government Efficiency.